Okay, guys. Hi, everybody. Hope you're ready to do some more multiplication, and we're going to be multiplying with three-digit numbers times a one-digit number, and we're just working on that same pattern, thinking about whether we need to rename or not. So that's what we're working on today. So let's just get started on our work text page 287. So let's make sure you get that open. If you don't have it with you, pause and go get it because we're going to work on this together, okay? So we're going to start with this one first, and I know they've given you the answer, but I just want to go through all of this to make sure you understand what they're doing with the renaming, okay? So we have 144 times 3. So you can see that they've set up a 100, 4 tens, and 4 ones, okay, for each group. So 144, 144, and 144, okay? And they're also showing that it's repeated addition, so we have three 144s, right? Three groups of 144 that we're adding, and we're also going to multiply, okay? So let's go through it with the blocks, all right? And then we'll talk about the multiplication. All right, so we have 144, three groups of 144. Remember, these are 100. Here we've got 10 fours in each group and 4 ones in each group. So that's 144. Now, when I put those all together, okay, that's what multiplication or addition is putting all of those groups together, right? So when I put my my ones together and my tens together, let's see if we need to do any regrouping. Okay, so when I've got those three groups of 4, how many will I have? I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 12. Okay, so that's too many to go in my ones place, right? So remember, I take 10 of those and I change it in for an extra 10. So that I'm going to take 10 away because I'm changing those into a 10. So that's going to be added to my tens. All right, so now here are my ones. Okay, now let's check our tens and see if we need to rename any of those as 100. Okay, so here's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Okay, so those 10 tens need to be renamed as 100. See how they're exactly the same? All right, so we need to get an extra 100 to rename this group of tens. Okay, so instead of 10 tens, I'm making it 100. Okay, so now I have my 2 ones, I have my 3 tens, and now how many hundreds do I have? I have 400. Okay, so that's what they're trying to show in this picture, that same thing. So let's take a look at our pictures here. So they had 144, 144, 144. And then when they multiplied those three groups, we found that we had 12 ones. So here are our 12 ones. They circled 10 of the ones and made it into a 10. Okay, so now there are just 2 ones, and we put 2 ones right here. All right, so now we're counting our tens, and we found out that we have enough tens to rename one of them, or 10 of them, as 100. Okay, so they circled these 10 tens and made it 100, and then they still have the 3 tens, so that's the 3 tens go there, and we added an extra 100, and that goes up there, so that's how we get 432. Okay, so let's try number 1 together, okay? And let's get the blocks. Sometimes I think it's easier to visualize the blocks instead of on paper. So let's see what our multiplication problem is because they didn't give us any numbers. Okay, so remember this line separates each group. All right, so how many hundreds do we have? We have 200, and we have 4 tens and 6 ones, right? 246. All right, so let's go ahead and write that on our paper. So we're getting ready for our multiplication. Okay, 246. Okay, and then how many groups do we have of 246? Okay, so here's one group, here's another group, Here's another group. So we have 3 groups. So we're going to multiply that 3 times. We're also going to add 246 3 times because there are 3 groups of 246. So it should look like this. Remember, when you're multiplying, your ones have to be all in the same column. Okay? All right, let's look at it with blocks, and then we'll solve it on paper. So we have 246. Gotta get a couple more hundreds here. Okay, so 246, 246, and here's 244. There's 6 there, and 46 here. Okay, so remember, multiplication is just putting all your groups together, all right? So let's add, or let's put all together all our ones. Okay, let's group those all together. So we've got 6, and another 6, that's 12, isn't it? And another 6, that would be 18. And we want to make sure that we've renamed things properly, okay? So if I had 18 ones, I could take 10 away and change it in, rename it for an extra 10, right? So if I took 10 away, that would leave me with 8 ones, correct? All right, so let's take those away. 2, 4, 6, up to 8 ones, and 10. That is the same as 18. I've renamed 10 of my ones as a 10. So I'm going to put this one, I'm going to add that to my group of 10s. Now I'm going to look at all my 10s and see, do I need to rename 10 10s as 100? Well, it looks like I've got more than 10 here, right? So let's see, 2, 4, 6, 8. Here's 10 right here. And you can see it's the same size as my 100, right? 10 10s equals 100. So I'm going to take these 10s and exchange it or rename it for 1 extra 100. Okay, so now when I put all of these together, okay, so I'll have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hundreds. I'll have 3 10s and 8 1s. Okay, so that should be our answer. So let's take a look. Okay, let's take a look on our paper. Okay, so what we did is we took our 3 groups of 6 ones and we took 10 of those. Okay, so circle 10. So that's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then you want to draw an arrow from your ones, from your 10 ones, to show that you've renamed 10 of these ones as 110. Okay, and so now I have 6, 7, 8 ones that are not circled. Those are my ones. Okay, and I renamed 10 of them to put in, to add in with the 10s. So let's take a look. We had 3 times 6. And 3 times 6 is 18. Those are my ones. So I'm going to put the 8 down, and I'm going to take the 10 ones that I renamed and put it in the 10s column with a little plus so that I remember to add that in after I multiply my 10s. Okay? So now I'm going to multiply my 10s. I take my multiplier times 4 10s, and 3 times 4 is 12. It would be 12 10s plus 1 extra 10. That would be 13 10s. So I'm going to put the 3 down in my 10s column and take those 10 10s and rename it as 100. Okay, and let's do that. Let's take 10 10s and rename it as an extra 100. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Here are my 10 10s that I'm renaming as 100. Okay, so I put an extra 100 here, and I rename these 10 10s, and I have 3 10s to put in my 10s column. So here are my 3 10s, I renamed 10 of the 10s as 100, and I put that with a plus right above my 200s. Okay, so I'm going to remember to add that in after I multiply. So take my multiplier, 3 times 200s equals 600, and 600 plus one more 100 would be 700. So I'm going to put 7 right here in my hundreds place. 738. And that's just what we got with our blocks. And now this is what we see here. We see 700s. Remember, these were renamed as 100, so we no longer count these as 10s. Here's our 3 10s, and here's our 8 1s. And then we can always double check with